Sir Galahad and the approaching army. Rumours had come that an awesome army from beyond the White Flood, beyond the cold river to the north, was approaching. The army was made up of orcs and goblins and trolls and all manner of bad, grumpy demons and bad, grumpy creatures. So the king had to raise an army to defend the land. So he raised the levies and called in his bannerman, and eventually he started to get enough people together to defend the lands from the invading horde. But there was not enough time. The army was getting closer and closer, and not enough people had come in to protect them. What were they to do? So they sent out far and wide for any travelling heroes that might help them, that might be able to slow down the approaching horde, the approaching army. And 3 such heroes heard the call. Sir Galahad and his friend Igor and his friends the Yeti. So off they went, as stealthy as they could manage, which was not brilliantly stealthy given one of them was Yeti. But they crept up across the mountain range and saw down, coming towards and through the plain, up over the high back ridge to the mighty bridge that spanned the great gorge, an army of colossal size. There were hundreds and thousands of them. You see the odd massive troll or ogre standing upright out of the hordes of black bodies of goblins, black goblins and dark orcs. So red skull goblins and green claw clan orcs. Thousands of them. What were they to do? What could they possibly do to stand up to this mighty army approaching them? So, Igor took out his latest invention, which was a spyglass, a telescope, something for making something far away look bigger, and he looked around and see what they saw. And they did see that the mighty bridge was the only way to cross the gorge for miles around. It wouldn't finish the army, but it would slow them down. If they could get rid of the bridge, it would take a lot longer to get around, which means it would delay the army, and hopefully the king would have enough time to build his army to repel the enemy horde. They must destroy the bridge. They approached the bridge. The bridge was huge, it was colossal. It was broken up into 3 segments, 3 great pillars spanning across the gorge, and 3 sections in between, holding up by massive strong ropes and towers. The bridge was so wide you could fit 10 men abreast across it. The army was approaching, they were getting closer and closer. We don't have much time. Oh my goodness, what should we do? Igor, have you got any ideas? Yeti, do you have any ideas? Said Galahad. I think, said Igor Master, what we should probably do is set fire to the bridge. Take a lot of fire, said Galahad. I reckon, said the Yeti, we should cut it with a big saw. Do we have a big saw? Yeah, I borrowed one. I borrowed one last time we were at the woodcutters. I thought it might come in handy, said the Yeti. Said Galahad. Well, both those are good ideas, but we've got to slow them down, and they are getting closer. They're barely a mile away. So they decided to do that and more. Igor got on his donkey and rode as fast as he could to the farthest part of the bridge, and then he started to set traps and just anything he could to delay them. In the middle of the bridge, they set a gigantic bonfire. They cut down loads of bits of wood and threw it on top of it and made a huge bonfire and set the blaze ablaze, burning in the middle of the bridge. And the last part of the bridge, the Yeti pulled out his giant saw for cutting down huge trees and started to hack through the ropes. The army was getting closer and closer. They were rushing in, getting nearer and nearer, and eventually you could hear the howls of the wall riders. You could hear the huffing and puffing of the giant ogres and the trolls and the grunting of the orcs, and then they were on the first section of the bridge. Fall back, said Galahad, and they did, and they helped the Yeti everything they could do to try to hack through the ropes. Some of them got tangled up. Some of the orcs got tangled up, the orc scouts and the front runners got tangled up on the first part of the bridge, but soon they were across it, and then they were at the bonfire, the blazing flame, and the bridge was weakening, but they managed to douse out the flame, and they were almost there, with Galahad drew his axe and started hacking at the ropes. The Yeti soared back and forth as fast as he could, and Eagle then poked with his knives, and just as they were getting closer and closer, it's almost so they could breathe on them. Twing, twang, twang. The rope started to fray. The bridge rocked, and they ran. Quickly, the Yeti grabbed Igor and threw him as fast as he could back onto the fast of the bag. Then he jumped as fast as he could, but the bridge then fell. And you could see it falling down. Galahad was stranded in the middle section. Around him was hundreds of orcs growling. He jumped on his horse, kicked his heels, and charged towards them. Momentarily stunned, they head back, and then he twisted and pirouetted, and then head back towards the chasm and got to the far bank and jumped. His horse did a magnificent jump, sailed up high in the air like a Pegasus reborn, and landed scrambling on the other side. It was then tottering and it was starting to fall back, and the Yeti hugged it and pulled it back in. And all of them breathed a sigh of relief as the last section of the bridge has fallen down. None of the whole army had horses as gallant and brave as the Galahads, or as strong, or could jump so far. There was no way that the army could get over quickly. And then the fire had started to take its toll. Despite the fact they put out, the bridge started to creak and crack, and then the middle segment fell away. 2 strides of the bridge was gone. There was no way they could get across. It took them days. It took them over a week to get back to where they were. And in that time, that was enough time for the king to raise the army that he needed. And they were ready for when the goblins and the trolls and the orcs broke through into the land of men. There was an army waiting, thanks to the heroes' friend.